Obsidian is the best note-taking second brain app ever. There is no question about that in my mind. But I felt like it was missing a simple beginner tutorial for those people who just want to learn the basics and get started as quickly as possible. So this is that tutorial. Now, if you already know some things about Obsidian, you can jump around. There are chapters in this video, but if you're a complete beginner, just start from the beginning and keep watching, because I'll take you from never having used Obsidian before to a point where you are solid on the basics and maybe you know one or two advanced things as well. So let's get started. Step number one is going to the website obsidian.md and clicking on download so you can download and install it on your machine. Obsidian is available for every device and every operating system, so you can follow along regardless of your machine. Once you open it up, this is what you'll see. You'll need to click on Create to create a new vault, and you can think of a vault as a folder where you'll have all of your notes. We start with our first vault, but don't sweat it too much because you can always rename it later, and you can have multiple. So you could have a vault for work, one for home, etc. So pick a name for your first vault here, then click on Browse to pick where you'd like for that folder to be in your file system, and click on Create. Now, this is actually important, picking the right folder, because if you want to use Obsidian on many devices at the same time, one way of doing that for free is by picking here a folder that is on a cloud storage. So maybe Google Drive, Dropbox, or iCloud Drive, you get it. And so since your vault will be on this cloud storage, it will automatically be synchronized between all of your different devices. So yeah, just a little tip there. There is another way of synchronizing between devices called Obsidian Sync, and it's more seamless. It's an option provided by the developers. It's a paid option, but I will not be covering that in this video. Once you create your vault and click on Create, this is what you'll see. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is that there is a sidebar on the left, this gray area with a file called Welcome, and then there is the rest, this central section here, which is your main zone where you'll actually write and read and interact with your notes. So these are two separate sections. There's also another sidebar on the right, which you can toggle by clicking here. So this is just to gather our bearings before we start. There is a left sidebar, a right sidebar, and a central area for your notes. Now, one thing you'll see is that the main section looks a lot like a web browser, like Google Chrome. So you have tabs, which you can open with the plus and close with the X, as always. But the tab management here is a lot more powerful than a browser. And I'll show you in a second what I mean. So let me close this graph view here for a second. We can come back to that later, and let's create a new note. So to create a new note, I'll open a new tab, and then I'll click on Create New Note. I can give it a title and press Enter, and I can start writing my note. That's great, but watch what happens when I drag around the Welcome note. I can have it appear to the right of my note, side by side, or right below it, or next to it, like so. So in this space, you can place your notes wherever you want, and you can make it so that what you see on screen resembles the way you think in your brain. That sidebar on the left is also really important. You can open and close it with this button, just like the right sidebar. And if you open it up, you'll see all of your folders and all of your notes in this vault. So this is where you can access them and flip between different notes. You can also quickly create a new note by clicking on this button, and create a new folder by clicking on this button right here. Now, when it comes to keyboard shortcuts, Obsidian has a ton of them for everything, but as a beginner, the only two shortcuts I want you to learn are one, Control O to open a note, or Command O if you're on a Mac. So you do that, type the name of a note, and press Enter to open it. Now, the second and only other shortcut I want you to learn is Control P or Command P on the Mac to open the command palette. This palette is really important because any action you want to do in Obsidian, you can do it from here. If you want to create a new note, for example, just open the palette, type new note, and press enter, and that's it. If you want to close the tab you're on, for example, same thing, open the palette, type close current tab, and you can close the tab. You can open the sidebars, close the sidebars, delete the current file. You can do a ton of things. You get the point. Any action you can think of in Obsidian is here in the command palette. So if you don't want to learn these other shortcuts that are present, in fact, I don't recommend you learn the other shortcuts. Just learn Command O to open the files and Command P to open the palette, and you'll be covered for a very, very long time. So now we know how to create a node, but one of the most powerful things you can do in Obsidian is creating your own personal wiki, meaning that as you learn, as you grow, as you read, you create more and more nodes, and most importantly, you create connections, you create links between nodes. So how do you do that? And now, as you're writing a node, like this node here, double tap on the open brackets key on your keyboard, and a list of all of your nodes show up. Just start writing and pick the one you'd like to link to, then press on enter, and just like that, we created a link between our nodes. Now, one thing is you can actually create a link to a node that doesn't exist yet, and it will be highlighted in gray, for example, like so. Now, why would you do something like that? So let's assume you're writing a note about something you're studying and you already know you want to go deeper about a certain topic later on its own note, but you don't want to get to that now. You don't want to write that note now. You just want to put it as a placeholder for you to get to later. So you can think of it that way. So that is something that people do occasionally on Obsidian. And actually, if you open the sidebar on the right here, you'll actually find two tabs. One with the outgoing links from this note, so showing you all of the links that you created in this note, existing or non-existing, and one for the backlinks, meaning that this is a list of notes that link to this note. Something very similar to links are tags. So at any point as you're writing your note, type the hash sign and write the name of your tag. Let's say our note here is about algebra, for example. So now I can type algebra as my tag. And if I open the right sidebar and click on the tags tab there, I can see a list of all of my tags, and I can quickly navigate between them. So that's really tags in a nutshell. You click on the tag here, and on the left sidebar, you'll get a list of all of your notes that have that tag. Now, whenever you ask people advice for how to use a second brain app or note-taking app, usually what they'll tell you is that you should atomize or split your notes to be as small as possible, so that instead of having one huge note with everything, you have many smaller notes instead, and you just link them to one another. My personal opinion is that you should try that, but if it gets in the way of you taking notes, then you should just have longer notes. But if you do have a long note and you realize you have a section that you want to split off, select the section that you want to split, right click and click on extract current selection. Type the name of the new note you want to extract that to. So new note, that's it. Now I can click on this link and I can see that that section has been split into its own separate note. Now we can actually do the same thing in reverse. So we can merge two notes together by going to the command center, typing merge. We select the file we want to merge into, merge, and the two notes will be updated this way. So we merged it back into the original note. Now let's get to graph view, which is probably one of Obsidian's most popular features. You can get to it, as always, by opening the command palette and typing graph view. So this opens up, and in this canvas here, each dot is a note, and each line is a link you make between notes. So this view helps you get a bird's eye view of your notes. It's just kind of a cool thing. You can tweak various settings from here to display this graph view however you want. And the light gray dots are links to notes that don't exist yet. So the same ones that we created before. So from this view, you can actually click on one and create that note. So graph view actually helps you find those empty spots, those gaps, those unwritten notes that you want to get to one day. So it's a nice way of doing that. All right, now I just want to briefly show you the canvas functionality because it's really useful to create mind maps or diagrams, and it's built in, no need for plugins. So from the command palette, type canvas and press enter. And this is what you'll see. Let me close the sidebars just so we can have the full view. Now, sometimes text is just too constraining. You want to have the full infinite 2D space to write your thoughts and research. So you can actually drag and drop little post-its on this canvas like this. You can create arrows in between them. So let's finish this post-it. Let's say this is called note 1. We can then create another one, maybe called note 2. And so these two ideas are related to one another. What we can do is we hover over note 1, drag and drop this dot, and plug it into note number 2. So as we move note number 2, the arrow will stay and the connection will be kept. So it's just a really neat tool that takes notes to a different dimension. Literally, it's quite basic maybe compared to some other canvas tools out there. You can't directly draw on the canvas, for example, but I think it does the job well without overcomplicating it. Now, you can actually even drag and drop existing notes from the vault. So if you drag this one, it then gives you the option to pick a note. So I've just embedded a note in the canvas, which I find quite powerful. And actually, one thing that I personally like is nesting notes into one another so they can form a sort of hierarchy. So if you select multiple notes or nodes at the same time, a new button pops up here called Create Group. So you can click on that and quickly create a new group. So just like that, you can take a couple of ideas that are just floating around the canvas, group them together and categorize them so that they are neatly organized that way. Okay, now let's get to journals. Keeping a journal on Obsidian is actually really easy. First, you'll need to activate the Daily Notes plugin. For that, open the settings. We can do that from the command palette, as always. Type settings and go to the core plugins section, then scroll down to Daily Notes and turn that on if it isn't already turned on for you. It depends on the version of Obsidian that you are using. Now you can click on the small calendar icon that's here on the so-called ribbon. This column of icons here on the left side is called the ribbon. So when you click on that, you'll have a fresh new daily note that just opens up with the current date and a blank slate for you to write your thoughts in. So every day you can click on your calendar icon here and open the note for the day. Now, honestly, these daily notes are not just for journals. So a lot of people like to use their daily notes as a Scratchpad for their day. So when you just have a couple of random things you want to jot down quickly and you don't really have a place for them, you don't want to clutter your existing notes, your existing pages, a very good way to put that information down on paper is by clicking on the daily note icon and then writing them down in your daily note. Then, of course, you can collect these daily notes. You can look back at these daily notes and see all of your random tidbits and thoughts. And if you need to do so, you can do just what I've shown you before. So you can select that text, right click and extract that text into its own note if you deem that necessary. Now, one thing that you realize if you use daily notes a lot is that they will quickly start filling up your file list. If you don't want your daily notes cluttering that list, open settings again, go to core plugins and go down to daily notes, click on the gear icon, the options icon in daily notes. And here you can actually type the name of a folder if you have that folder. Now, if you don't have it, that will not work. So we can first create a folder. Let's say what I personally do is I have a folder called dailies. I can then go back to the settings and I can select that folder. Okay. Now, if I exit out and let's say I delete my existing daily note, I create a new one. And so this new one daily note will be created in the dailies folder. So that way your daily notes will not clutter up your list of notes. Okay, so I want to show you a brand new feature in Obsidian called Web View. Now, sometimes when you write your notes, you'll have your browser maybe open on a side with your lecture or article or whatever material you're using to read or learn from. And on the other side, you'll have Obsidian, but they will be two different applications. But now WebView lets you open web pages directly from Obsidian, and it actually blocks ads too. So it's a nice, clean, lightweight browsing experience. So go to settings, then go to core plugins and scroll to the web view section and activate it. So now when you open a new tab, you're given the option to open it as a browser tab. So let's do that right now. I can click on plus, then open web viewer, and you'll see that this is essentially a web browser. So we can navigate to the website of our choice, but with the power of the tab management of Obsidian. So you can move the tab around and put it wherever you want, on the right, on the left. And if the website you're looking at supports it, you can click on the pair of glasses here to enter reader mode, which is an even more focused way of reading your web pages. And when you're in reader mode, if you find a passage you like and you want to turn that into its own note, just select the passage, then right click and click on extract. And just like that, we've created a new note with content we found on the web. That's pretty neat. And I love this new web viewer feature. It came out just a few releases ago, and I found myself using it a lot more than I thought, just because it's so easy to take notes as you browse. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about before installing our first external plugin is the looks of Obsidian, and especially the theme. Now, Obsidian is heavily customizable, but you don't need to do all the tweaking yourself. People in the community made amazing themes, which are just simple one-click installs. So go to settings, then appearance, and then click on manage in the row about themes, and you'll see there are a ton of themes to choose from. So just pick the one that you like, then click on install and use. Then later from the themes row, you can of course flip between all of your different themes. And so yes, this now is the last thing I want to talk about, which is installing external plugins, also known as community plugins. This is the real strength of Obsidian, in my opinion, because there are thousands of plugins to choose from, and they all enhance your experience in one way or another. And each plugin is unique, so I couldn't possibly cover them all in one video. I actually do cover some of them in my other videos and in videos that I'll put up in the future. So please do subscribe if you would be interested in seeing that. For now though, because I want to keep this tutorial as brief as possible and for beginners, I'll install one plugin and show that to you so you can get an idea for how installing plugins and using them works. So first things first, go to settings, then on community plugins, and turn them on. Click on browse and you'll see all of the plugins that the Obsidian community has to offer. The plugin that I'll install today is called Kanban, because in my opinion, it's a killer plugin that everyone should use. So I'll click on Kanban, of course. And at this point, you should read the docs page since it will explain to you how to use the plugin. Then click on install, wait a bit as it downloads, then click on enable to turn the plugin on. And check it out, just as I clicked on enable, I'll do that again. So take a look at the ribbon here on the left hand side. Just as I click on enable, a new icon pops up here. And so that gives you a hint as to how we can use this plugin. Let me close a couple of tabs. And so let's now check out what this new icon does. It says create new board. So I'll click on this icon and you can see that a whole new type of note has been opened up for me. And here we can create different columns. Now, this is unique to this plugin, so each plugin will be different, but in this particular plugin, I can create different columns. So I'll just give them some standard names like this. And now this is what's called in project or product management, a Kanban board. So we have columns and we can create individual cards for our to-dos. So let's say, for example, that my to-do for the day is to implement showing the user's birthday on the profile page. I click on enter and I've just created a new card for myself. Now I can move this card forward from the left to the right as I work on it. So this is similar to Trello if you've used it before. or Jira, for example, but this is a lot simpler in my opinion and cleaner. Now, the question you might be asking is, can multiple people work on this board? Well, the answer is yes, partially. So if your vault is in a shared folder, like a Google Drive or Dropbox folder, just share that folder with them. And if they open the folder with Obsidian, they will see what you see and can edit what you can edit, and they can make changes. So that's how you install a plugin. And again, each plugin does something completely different. So you'll need to briefly read the documentation for each plugin as you install it. But in a nutshell, this is how you do it. All right, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, if you made it here, then you know everything you need to know to get started using Obsidian and enjoying it and making it work for you. This is not everything, of course. I've only covered the absolute tip of the iceberg, the absolute basics. Now, I hope you can enjoy the joy of discovering the full power of this tool for yourself and discovering how you can make it work for yourself just by taking a look at all of the features that it has, taking a look at all of the plugins that it has. I think just the act of discovering how you can adapt Obsidian to work in your workflow is part of the experience of using this magnificent software, which I really enjoy. So yeah, I hope this video was useful in getting you started on your Obsidian journey, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you. Bye.